My husband, my father-in-law survived, by the grace of God. Auschwitz, Majdanek, Treblinka, and Buchenwald was the graduation. I had a certificate that we found from when we were in Buchenwald in Germany about 10 years ago, 9 years ago. It said, David Koplowitz, that was his name, but when he came to the United States, his boss told him it's too long of a name, too hard to spell, from Koplowitz to Kane. Then he went to the army and so on, he never changed it back. So, it was, life, my friends, was not easy. They survived hell, losing everybody before his bar mitzvah. But we clung to Judaism, we believed in God, and believed there's a better tomorrow. And we're, as it says there someplace, it says we're the people of the book. Knowledge is power. Knowledge, education is power. We have to educate our young people. There should be no prejudice, no hatred, to love and respect. This is right now the entrance to Auschwitz. I can see without my glasses, you don't mind.
If you look at the image on the right, we're in an area of Bendine, which was the last area of resistance that the partisans fought the Nazis before the whole ghetto of Bendine was liquidated. We were there, my mom and I were there, and Terry in there 2016. And if you look at it, you see what looks like a set of railroad tracks that go. If you look at the monument, you'll see what looks like a set of railroad tracks. And that was the site where the last partisans in Bendine fought and died. They were led by a young woman whose name I can't remember, but there's a memorial plaque at the front of the monument, and then the back of the monument is shaped like the back of a rail car that they would use to ship the Jewish victims that would go and be sent to Auschwitz. Auschwitz was only about a 30-minute drive from Bendine, and the railroad tracks symbolically pointed in the direction of Auschwitz. We met a young Israeli man there who is part of a mission that brings young Jewish people there, both students and young soldiers there, on an annual basis to remind them of what happened.
The answer to Auschwitz, unfortunately, I was there many times, but this time my children wanted to go, so I went with them again. It was very painful. I saw the place where my late husband was, his barracks. Most of the people didn't survive. He survived by the grace of God. Not that he was smarter, he was a young boy. But when we were running with the partisans, and they were shooting, they kept telling us, remember, just keep running, don't look back. And if they shoot you, hope and pray that you will be killed so you will not be caught and tortured. So there was a prayer to survive another day, not to be caught and be tortured. Can you imagine the prayer to stay alive and not to be tortured? So my husband survived the camp with his father and an aunt that went to Israel. Can you imagine losing over 200 members of a family and having nothing? There was no home to go to. Everything was taken away from us. Many people came back to their home, and the people who occupied it are nice neighbors. They didn't want to move out. So there in 1945, after the war, there was a pogrom where they killed a lot of Jews that came to, don't think of the name right now, came back home. They killed them all and they drowned them because they did not want to see them and give up their homes and the belongings that they confiscated during the Germans. They blamed everything on the Germans. Yes, the Germans were evil. Yes, they did all the pain-causing things to all of us. But our neighbors did not help. When they came to look for Jews, why didn't they say, we're all Jews. We don't have any Jews here. Could they kill everybody? No. My uncle Sagalchuk, who was in the partisan, and he saved us. He saved us. When after the war he killed a bunch of people that tortured his family and killed them. So the Russians put him in prison. So he says, why? I fought for this country. I gave my life and everything here. Why do you do that to me? He said, because you killed 5 people. He said, what about all the Jewish people they killed? And the guy was a friend of his. He said, look, Sagalchuk, Jacob, look, Sagalchuk, we can kill everybody. That was his answer. It was okay if he killed 5 people, but they put him to jail, but he couldn't kill all the nice people that tortured us. This is a picture of my family when we came to the United States. My late father, myself, my mother, my brother, and my 2 brothers, unfortunately, are gone from this world. They survived hell. They never want to talk about it. And my little sister, who's 10 years younger than I am. And she was born shortly before the war was over. We lived in an area where it was a resort place, a beautiful area. We had a lake. It was Lake Naroch. People used to come there for vacation, used to swim, and the lake was frozen. We walked to school in the winter. In the summer, we walked by the lake. And right here is a picture of my house, where I was born and raised. Only 2 houses remained. Mine, my cousin. And we met a gentleman who went to school with my brother, to Cheder, to religious school. He fought in the Russian army, and he survived the war. When we took him to the cemetery where I had my loved ones, the weeds were that high. The Germans used the cemetery to have graze there for grazing of the horses. I knew approximately, as we walked in on the right, where my family was buried. But don't forget, I was a little girl. But God gave me many blessings, one of them that I still have the brains. And they're working. And I'm helping a lot of young people to turn them around from hatred, from prejudice, from bullying, from being mean. And I told them by being kind and to be loving, you could only improve yourself. If you hate somebody else, you corrode the inside of your neshama, your soul, and you hate. So you're the one who suffered the most. I have letters, thousands of letters for schools I speak before. 400, 300, 500. I speak whoever will listen to me, because this is why God let me live. To be able to bring a message to people that, yes, those things happened. To real people. And this is not in 100 years yet. In 500 years from now, they'll be forgotten. But when they see, I tell them when I speak to them in Spanish, I say, pensar que yo soy abuelita, y yo quiero explotar por usted toda. Think of me as your grandmother, and I'll explain it to you. So when they tell me I live in a poor neighborhood, I live in a house, and my parents don't have money, I said, I'm the product of that. I came no language, no money, but my aunts brought us over here and gave us a bachelor's apartment for 6 people.
So we're going to go back to Seattle for just a second. I'll help give you a little context of what this picture is, and then Mom can explain to you the details surrounding it. We're standing next to a memorial that has a list of over 50 names of Jewish men and boys who were the leaders of the Jewish community in Seattle. Seattle was a shtetl of 1,500 people in 1939. Half the families were Jews, half the families were non-Jews. They had lived and coexisted together for generations. And when the Nazis ruled north, it was already into 1940, and there was a lot of confusion because they knew what was going on to the south of them, and that people were being rounded up and put into ghettos and sent to concentration camps. And so the leadership from the Polish community approached the rabbi and the other Jewish leaders in Seattle and said, let's meet and discuss how we're going to manage the situation when the Nazis come. What the Jews didn't know was that the Nazis had supplied trucks and weapons. They rounded up the Jewish men and boys. They drove them to the edge of town. They made them dig their own